Hello music fans, welcome back to the Death by Unicorn channel for another episode of What's New 2023, where I talk about new albums that came out in metal, rock, and prog. Today I'm going to talk about 4 new albums that I listened to that came out on July 7th, and I enjoyed them all, but I'll talk about them in my order of preference, starting with my favorite, which is I Am the Manic Whale and Bumper Book of Mystery Stories. This is progressive rock. It's the 4th album by this band from the UK. I listened to the single Erno's Magic Cube before the album came out. It's a great, catchy song about Rubik's Cube, and it's really like this song was made for me. I really love it and enjoy it. And I saw on their Bandcamp page that the songs on this album are inspired by an old book from 1963 called The Boy's Life Book of Mystery Stories. This is their first album of theirs that I've heard, but if all their work is like this, I think they'll have a new fan in me. It's all very melodic and catchy singing. It's very accessible even for people who aren't usually fans of prog, because there's a lot of undeniably catchy hooks here, but there's also still some cool odd time signature parts and guitar solos to please music aficionados. Some of the names I recognize in terms of the contributors on this album are Michael Whiteman, who plays bass pedals, some guitars, does some of the lead vocals. I recognize him as he was a contributor on the Ryo Okamoto album I love from last year. Speaking of which, the other name I'm familiar with on here is Ryo Okamoto, who I love for his work in Spock's Beard, as well as his solo material. He contributes some guest keyboard parts on here, though he's not an official member of the band. Next, I want to talk about Butcher Babies and their double album, Eye for an Eye / Till the World's Blind. This is groove metal with metalcore, pop, alternative metal, and thrash metal influences. It's the 4th album by this American band. For fans of bands like Lamb of God, Ginger, and Arch Enemy, as it sounds like a mix of those bands, they have 2 female vocalists who do both harsh and clean vocals. It's a double album where the first album is a little more accessible and poppy, but still has some brutal heavy sections, and the second album is a little heavier and more evil sounding, but still has some catchy moments. This won't be a contender for my year-end top 50 video, but I do think this band has some potential and all the members are very talented, so I look forward to hearing what they do next. Next, I want to talk about Solstein and their self-titled album. This is instrumental jazz fusion with progressive rock and funk influences, and it's the debut album by this international band based in Norway and the US. I heard their singles Hamada and Intersection, and those got me interested in this album. They're both instrumental, melodic, and groovy. Very nice and jazzy, lots of funky synthesizers. I'd like this album more if they added a strong vocalist on top. And lastly, I want to talk about Nita Strauss and her album The Call of the Void. This is heavy metal with hard rock, melodic death metal, metalcore, neoclassical, progressive, and power metal influences. She kind of takes all these different kinds of metal and blends them together, but it's very focused on guitar and shredding and guitar riffs and guitar leads and solos. It's the 2nd solo album by this great female guitarist who played with Alice Cooper and Demi Lovato. I heard the single The Golden Trail featuring Anders Frieden of In Flames on vocals, and it sounded just like I was listening to a classic In Flames track. I also heard The Wolf You Feed featuring Alyssa White Glues from Arch Enemy. Also sounds just like I'm listening to a bit of a poppier Arch Enemy with a heavy, brutal scream verse and a catchy sung chorus. Cool guitar solo, key change. The guitar playing on this whole album is very well done, for a guitar virtuoso shredder album, to me it's not as innovative as guitar shredder albums that I like more from the likes of Steve Vai, Animals as Leaders, Intervals, Polyphia, those kinds of instrumental guitar shredding albums. If you like those kinds of things, you might like this, but it didn't go above and beyond any of those things that I've already heard before. And that's it for my first impressions of these 4 albums that came out on July 7th. What do you think of these albums? Let me know in the comments down below, or let me know if anything else came out recently that you think I might enjoy. And until next time, peace out.